Welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. We are here on another Thursday. It is Thursday, February 22nd, and we are here for another episode of Aftermath of Dynamite. It is myself, your boy ALW, and the Anarchy Queen of Workhorse Wrestling Network, Miss Anika. How you doing?
I'm cool. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm here ready to talk some AEW. What about you?
Let's get it.
It was a little bit of a short week since there was no collision on Saturday due to NBA All Star Weekend. So we're just going to talk about Rampage from last Friday the 16th and then last night's Dynamite. So let's see. Starting as we usually do with Rampage. It was Rampage on the 16th, and that show kicked off with an interesting match, honestly. I mean, I guess we've been seeing a little more of Jeff Hardy lately, but we had Sammy Guevara versus Jeff Hardy. I didn't realize Jeff Hardy was still kind of actively wrestling like that. I mean, I've seen him a couple times, but it's also kind of been here and there, right? So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of
No.
surprised me. But two guys
No.
that can really wrestle, I figured it was going to be a good match, as it
Yeah.
was.
No, because it was cool because Jeff Hardy went on social media. Yay. And he was like, "I'm tired of how me and my brother were feeling, or how me and my brother were on portrayed on TV. We had no storylines." So TK was like, "All right, bet." And unfortunately, I think he got hurt in this match, which sucks.
Yeah, the rumor says that he got his nose broken, but at the same time, a broken nose heals pretty quick. So hopefully,
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's not something that's going to linger on. It's not some sort of back
Yeah.
injury or head injury or you know what I'm saying, or a
Leg
sprain
injury.
or a
Yeah.
knee or leg injury or something. So hopefully he'll be back quick. Hobbs attacks Guevara at the end of the match. What do you think about that?
It makes sense because that was their last big feud. It was Jericho and Sammy versus the family. On the side note of it, it's like no, Jericho needs to sit down. So if this is just Sammy, I'm cool with it. But if this is a Jericho comeback, no, let it die.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally sure where we're going with it, but I mean, I thought it came across okay. And I agree with you that it does make sense in that context. So I thought that it was a good opening match. I think it ended a little quickly because of the broken nose. I mean, I think they kind of had to
Mm.
audible and ended a little sooner than they were going to, but I think it still came off as a good match. I thought, it looked. Jeff obviously can still go, and Sammy Guevara is a good wrestler. Well, I mean, whatever we think about him, he is a good wrestler. So,
Yeah.
um, you know.
No, I
Let's see. Then we had Brian Cage backstage talking some shit about Hook.
Mhm.
Called him Flavor of the Month. Um, Cage says anyone who cheers for Hook should cheer for him. Any comments on this at all?
I don't hate it because we know Brian Cage could go, and he could be a big asset into what we've been talking about, which is making sure that Hook grows in the ring and on the mic. So I'm not mad at this being a little mini feud.
Weren't they all Team Taz, or did I dream that? Like,
They
and
were.
now they just don't like each other, like for no real apparent reason. I guess I don't know.
Was
I guess it makes sense that Brian Cage could be somewhat jealous of, I guess the the lack of heat that they've been giving Hook. I mean, it's not like Hook's been getting pushed. I mean, it's not like Hook's, I mean, other than the FTW title, it's not like he's done anything really. So, I mean, I'm not sure what Brian Cage would be jealous of, but I guess, I don't know. It just seems weird. I'm not totally sure I understand or that it makes sense to me. At the same time, I'm not opposed to Hook getting some reps, with Brian Cage. I think obviously Brian Cage is a really solid wrestler, and I think Hook could probably learn a lot from him in the ring. So I mean, I'm here for that. We'll have to see how the chemistry works out, but I think it should be okay. I mean, so I'm kind of here for that match. But yeah, I mean, I'm just it kind of I thought it kind of weird myself.
no, no. That's why you need Taz on commentary because they were don't know like it was for a small portion. I think when he came in, maybe 2 or 3 months, then that's when they broke up. But yeah, they were in Team Taz. That's why you have Taz on commentary because evidently he's probably the only one who remembers this.
Let's see. Then we had Private Party with their security guard cheesecake. What did you think of their new Liddy in the City? I'm assuming that's their new attempt to try to get a catchphrase over. Are you here for it? Did you like it?
Let me have another week with it and see if it grows me or not. I don't hate it though.
Don't hate
Give me
it.
another week with it.
Jury's still out. We're undecided still.
Still undecided.
Let's see. Then we had Moxley in a promo referring to FTR says never a good idea to provoke the Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley put over FTR's tag team wrestling with questions anyone doubting he and Claudio's. Oh, that's right. It was him and Claudio together. That's right. And it says that they're basically a great tag team as well. Just because FTR has been wrestling together forever doesn't mean that they're the only great tag team. Blah blah blah. Anything about this promo?
It's Moxley, so it's gonna be decent to great, right? And I love this feud, so whatever needs to happen to let it continue on in the best way, keep doing it. So yeah,
Yeah, I think the promo. I think this promo did a good job of building up to their match tomorrow night, or from last night. I'm sorry, that we'll get to when we talk about Dynamite,
yeah.
and ultimately leading into what we'll talk about, but is going to be a Revolution match. So
Mhm.
yeah, no, I mean, I think this did a good job of that, and Moxley's always a fun promo. So and it's amazing to me to see how much for as much shit as we give Tony Khan about being unable to book, whatever. The fact that he's been able to do so much with Cesaro, Claudio, that WWE couldn't really do, right? I mean, it's amazing to see the difference in Claudio here than it was to see Cesaro in WWE. So um, that makes
No,
me happy.
it's a major difference. Now I'm not gonna give the 100%, what you call it, credit to Tony. I do believe I'm gonna give like 7% to Danielson, but I will give Tony the credit of he lets Danielson do whatever he wants to do, and 9 times out of 10 it usually comes out great. So yeah, I'll give you credit for
Let's.
that. Keep your fingers off of the Blackpool Complex Club.
Then we had Ruby with Renee. She realized that she had some. She learns that Angela wants to spend some time with her tonight. She tries to, um, or Soraya tries to apologize. Soraya says to Ruby they forgive her. She forgives her, and Ruby's like, "Forgives me for what? Like I didn't do anything." Uh, and further, just kinds of, she basically says she wants space and turns her back on Soraya and Harley Cameron, which is good. I'm glad for that. And I'm interested to see this Ruby. Well, I mean, we'll talk about it when it happens. Ruby
Mhm.
and Angela's little, I guess, date kind of thing later in the evening.
Yeah.
So let's see. Then we had our second match of the night, which I enjoyed a lot. I have jobbers up there. That's
Hmm.
probably not fair. I'll give you their actual names, but I was pressed for time doing this. So it was Dustin Rhodes and Ross and Marshall Von Erich defeating Romero Cruz, HITT, and Simbashi. So yeah, I mean, I assume they're local wrestlers that I'm not even sure where they were. Let's see. Did it say where they were at? Uh, are they in Texas? Uh, yeah, so they're in Texas. So these must be local Texas guys. I'm assuming that they wanted to give an opportunity to somebody knows who they are, but I like this. I mean, there were tangles between the Von Erichs and Dusty Rhodes when he was wrestling in the NWA and the AWA. So there are all those ties that kind of go back, and it gives Dustin something to do. And for some reason, this feels like a natural kind of connection. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just because they're old school, two old school families, I guess maybe that's what it's
Hmm.
about. I'm not sure, but and I love that Marshall and Ross are finally here in AEW, that they're on TV. I thought this match was what it was. Obviously, the ending was kind of Dustin has him in the. They end up all three of them end up in their finishing moves: two iron claws and what is Dustin's? I'm trying to think. It was like it's a was it a crab, a Boston crab, or was it a
No,
like
like
a
it's like some kind of torpedo. lift them up and then a turn to the ground. I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Now I remember. Yes, you're right. I remember. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then they all kind of pinned them all at the same time. Well, I guess the two submitted and whatever. So it was a little over choreographed in that regard, but I still enjoyed it. And obviously, this was a spotlight for the Von Erichs, right? I think this. I'm not sure if I've actually seen them wrestle before on AEW TV. I know they've been around. They've done some segments in the back, but I can't put my finger on watching them wrestle. Maybe I just missed it before, but um, either way, I'm happy to see them there, and I'm happy to see them with Dustin.
Yeah. No, so I'm not sure exactly if the year the Von Erichs that we saw, but I know like in December before the movie came out, um, Eric and I think two of his sons were on TV. Not sure they're the same people, but
It is. It's the
so
same guy.
okay, yeah. So they
Yeah,
definitely so in December, but nothing in between. And so like
right.
yeah, if they're decent in the ring and they are, why not give them a chance to be on television? And like you said, the Dusty Von Eric, it is it's enough. It's enough it's enough connection for them to be a tag team. I'm like, all right, cool, let's go with it.
Yeah, and I like that it gives Dustin something to do and a little bit of direction, kind of gives him something to. So,
hmm
let's see. Then we had Tony Storm with Renee backstage, laughing at Deanna Peraza's threat to break her arm.
Yeah.
Um, and she puts Mariah May in an armbar and then an ankle lock. Poor Mariah May. She just
Cause it
gets beat
came
up
out of nowhere.
verbally and physically by Tony all the time. Like,
And she started yelling while she was in the yes. It was
Tony's
unfair.
great.
It was a poor girl, but I loved every minute of it. It was
Tony's
hilarious.
great. Let's see. So then we had a video package hyping Sting's last match at Revolution. I wanted to ask you. I asked. Did I ask Sammy? I might have asked everybody. I'm asking you. What do you think about his last match being a tag team match, being with Darby against the Bucks? I mean, do, do I mean obviously at this point, I'm sure Tony went to him and said, "What do you want to do?" And this was his decision, but
Mm.
at the same time, like, do you think this is ultimately how he really wants to go out? I mean, this is his like dream final match, or you just think that match is not really attainable? Whatever is in his head is the dream final match.
So he said to be very clear, he said he does not want to be in a singles match. That's what
Sure,
he said. That was his decision.
right.
Um, Me personally, I said this
Which
time.
which I
Oh, go.
agree with and I don't agree with. Like, I kind of buy and I don't buy. Like, I understand. Like, ideally, yes, he would be able to. He would love to be able to do a singles match, but he just knows his limits at this point and doesn't want to go out and look stupid at this point, right? He
Right.
needs the buffer. So, but ideally, if he could do it, he would do it, right? Like, I mean, he'd Sting. I mean, he'd much rather have a singles match. He might not say that, but if he was capable and felt like it was really in his wheelhouse and there was someone, whatever, whatever, he would do that, right? He just knows his own limitations at this point, which is great because I don't want to see him in a singles match either. But I'm just saying, like,
I mean, so my mind went here because I'm not sure people remember this, but 2022, I'm pretty much sure it's going to be him and Darby versus the Acclaimed, but Darby got hurt, and he basically did a handicap match. So it's like
mhm.
it's not out of the realm of possibility. Don't know how long of this match to go, but if you did that, I don't see why it's going to be a quick, walk across the barnyard to do a singles match. But if this was his decision, I respect it. Um, as someone who has seen a Ric Flair retirement match and on WWE, to be very very clear, at WWE, and Shawn Michaels retirement match at WWE, they really set the bar on retirement matches where it's like a freaking full story and it's the actual conclusion. It's beautiful and it's just like everyone should have that, right? Everyone should have that. But like you said, unfortunately, in his era, be very frank, people are doped up and people are hurt and people are old. So anyone from his past, in WCW wouldn't work. Anyone like
You
the
mean you don't want to
closest?
see Ric Flair and Sting go for an
Heck
hour in the
no.
ring anymore?
And that's why specifically I said Ric Flair in WWE because that retirement match a year or two ago was bogus, where he died a little bit in a freaking ring, and they had to wake him up. Hey, you can't die right now. We're in a freaking. This not really a good pay per view if you go die a little bit. Wake up. And so no, I
Exactly.
definitely don't. I definitely don't want to see that. But the closest one I could see is Kevin Nash, and we remember his last match, and that was between him and Triple H in 2011. That did not go that well. So
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
this probably is the
Yeah.
best thing, and we're gonna talk about it later. But the little addition to the match, possibly, probably will make it more of his retirement match than just a tag team match for the tag team championships.
Agreed. Agreed. Let's see. Then we got a little bit of we got to know Queen Aminata a little bit. They give a little close up interview right before her match with Anna Jay. So we saw that, and then we had a match with Anna Jay. Um, she got the win over Anna Jay, which I think might have been her first AEW win.
That's her
And
first
she's
AEW win. Yes.
I would say she's been in like 4 or 5 matches, but she's taken losses every time. Now, to be fair, it was to really get through competition, so it is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But yeah, so here she gets her first win. And I guess the way they're hyping her up, she should be beating Anna Jay, even though we haven't seen her beat anybody. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to put her up against the top people right away, then you know that she's at least supposed to be good, even though
Right.
she takes the L's. She showed out. And now against someone that's a B tier women's wrestler, she should be beating her if she's going to be a main event wrestler. I mean, that seems to be what they're pushing her for. So,
No, Anna Jay is the perfect person for her to win her first match. No offense to Anna Jay, but she is the perfect person. And it was a great match. It was just like, let's let's keep the ball rolling.
yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought, and it came off well the way she won, and it's even though Anna Jay's not a not like an elite women's wrestler or a main event wrestler, she has enough of a name that this is a good first win for her. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
good solid first win. So
Yeah.
let's see. Then we had Willow backstage with Chris, Statlander, and Stokely.
Hmm.
Um, this team's a little odd for me still. I don't. For me personally, I always see Stokely as kind of a heel, or at least he's better in that heel role for me than he is in here. He's kind of because Chris is definitely a baby face and Willow is definitely a baby face, and so it's kind of a weird for me. It's a little odd, but I do like it. She questions whether Stokely trusts her, and she wasn't happy about the cheating to get the win. Um, what do you think about this? The three of these people together and this little
So
segment.
it's basically coming together slowly but surely. I'm glad they had this conversation because I was talking about last week where it's like you just said, well, the baby face. So Stokely cheating is not in her wheelhouse. So I'm very glad to have a conversation of no, no, new team, don't cheat. And so it's like, fine. So like it's slowly coming together. Give it 1 or 2 more weeks. I think we're gonna get a nice groove on it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Time will tell.
Mhm.
Then we had Ruby and Ange on for Valentine's Day, essentially backstage.
Yeah.
Angelo Parker gave her a gift. We don't really get to see what the gift was. At least if we did, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Uh, and then he says he thought he kind of lost her, and she says, "You want to go out for a drink?" And so he says, "Sure." So next week, I guess they're going for a drink. I assume next week we'll get a vignette of them in a bar or in a restaurant or something having a drink. So
We
yeah,
better.
I mean, I'm here for this. This is the kind of soap opera stuff I do like. Um, and it gives something for both these people to do. I know that Ruby's been on TV a lot as part of the Outcasts, but she always kind of felt like the lower of the three on the totem pole, really. And so, and Angelo Parker definitely, doesn't get as much play as even his tag team partner Matt Menard, let alone, a lot of other people in that JAS that he was in for that Jericho Void. He was in for a long time, or Jericho Universe. He was in for a long time. So it's good to see both these guys get a little bit of their own storyline separate from anybody else. And so I'm here
Mhm.
for it. I mean, it's not really wrestling, but I like this kind of storylines in my
Don't
wrestling too.
build
So
to
I'm
the
here for
rest. We'll get to that later.
it.
It's a good story. It's
It's a good story. Anything else you want to say about it before we talk about the main event?
I like it.
I like it.
That's it.
Uh, so the main event: Bang Bang Scissor Gang versus Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, and Dark Order, consisting of Alex Reynolds, Evil Uno, and John Silver. This was one of those multi-men match where
Yeah.
I lose interest real quick. You can't follow really what's going on. It's too much going on, and I don't. It is what it is. I'm not sure that I'm sold on the whole Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I personally I think that the Bullet Club is going to turn on the Acclaimed at some point. That's my feeling. Just because I feel like that's in Jay White's nature, and since he's kind of the leader, and it's like, oh, we'll make these guys think that we're friends with them, and we'll play around with them, but then we're gonna attack them at some point. I mean, I maybe not. I could be totally wrong, but I see that happening. And I mean, I guess if you got to get 12 people on TV, this is some way to do it, but it's a bit of a clusterfuck, and I'm not a huge fan.
Um, it was a decent match. I love the ending, and hopefully the ending will what you call it, telegraph the how it's going to end. Where basically Billy Gunn accidentally hits Jay White, but go and then him and his son does the 310 to Yuma and gets the win. And so hopefully the idea of Bang Bang and the Acclaim coming together was a good idea, right? But why did they come together? To face the crackheads, allegedly, the Undisputed Kingdom. And so them not going against that team and just not having a storyline, allegedly. Yeah, them not having a storyline and them not going after the group that is which is the reason why they're together is making this not make sense or dragging out per se. So really like let's give them an actual storyline, which is it feels like it's simple, but you gotta say these things. Give them an actual rivalry. If it's not gonna be Undisputed Kingdom, give them something else because them just what's the word? What's the word? What's the word? Um, just moseying about aimlessly is not doing anyone any favor. So yeah, like we all think that how far can you trust Jay White? Not that far, but hopefully like don't end it soon. Just put him in the program before that happens.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Do you think at some point we get Billy Gunn again with his sons? You think
I
somehow
think
they come back together at some point?
I think so because
I
again,
do
like
too.
we discussed it on Dynamite, but yeah, like I said, the ending where him and I think Colton did the 310 to Yuma for the win, and it's like you know you miss your son, you know you miss your daddy.
Yeah, the question then becomes: does the Bullet Club, or do the Guns leave the Bullet Club Gold, or does Billy Gunn come over to Bullet Club Gold? I mean, I guess if they're all together right now, it doesn't matter. The Acclaimed and them together, they can kind of just coexist. But if they actually split up, or if they turn on the Acclaimed, then what happens? And I don't know. I do see them coming back together at some point for a longer duration again. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that'll work, but let's see. So that was the main event of Dynamite from last Friday.
Oh,
I thought it was a
Rampage,
solid.
Rampage.
I'm sorry, from Rampage. I apologize.
You did,
I think it was a solid show. I mean, again, Rampage suffers from often being or from being pre-recorded as always, but I still enjoy it. I don't read the spoilers, so I don't really know. And
yeah.
I thought it was a solid show. Um,
If you like wrestling and you got an hour off, yeah, just definitely go watch it and have some fun.
so that brings us to, since there was no collision, that brings us to Dynamite from last night. which kicked off with Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli versus Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood of FTR in what took up probably what I think close almost the first hour of the show. It felt like it
It
wasn't an
definitely
hour, but it was
30
a good
minutes.
40
Yeah.
minutes. It felt like I mean, yeah, a good 30 to 40 minutes. Um, but yeah, I mean, this was it ended in a 20-minute time limit draw. Which I didn't really have a problem with. I think AEW does a good job of spacing out their draws and not doing them too often. I mean, at least I don't feel that they do them too often. Um, and it feels like they save them for matches where it seems like it really makes sense, right? Like 20 minutes really probably isn't enough time for these four guys to actually decide a winner. They need more time than that. And so I can see that. Now, let's see what they do at Revolution. I believe they were talking on AEW Ramble. I think SP3 and Jimmy think that this match needs some sort of stipulation. I don't know that I agree
Yeah.
with that. I think that's what they were saying. I don't know that I agree with that. I think the match in and of itself is enough, but it depends on what the stipulation is. And I'm just for giving them more time and letting them have an actual all-out pay-per-view match, which is what this felt like. It just felt like kind of a shortened pay-per-view match. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was great. And then even the after stuff, with the backstage after um,
Yeah.
BCC wins, and then FTR challenges them to a match at Revolution, which is the match that I'm talking about needs stipulations. I apologize if that wasn't clear. Um, that they were talking about might need a stipulation. What do you think? Think it needs a stipulation for Revolution?
So going towards the match, I love a good house fight, and I love and some people like the technicality of wrestling. And then sometimes I just like a good old brawl. Like I don't like you. I'm trying to mess you up, and so I like that heat in the match. You definitely got it. Um, when it comes to a revolution, I do like if you're going to end in a draw. Yeah, if you're going to end in a draw, it feels like you need to either you have to put some more you put some more stank on it. Now, first thing that comes to my mind, um, I would maybe a 30-minute Iron Man match because this went in the draw. Give him a 30-minute Iron Man match, and let that be the stipulation, like something like that. It doesn't need extra heat when it's a draw. Now, for me, uh, not 100% mad that it was a draw, but it is a nitpick of like, okay, y'all get on WWE about disqualification, about stuff in the disqualifications, and they are they do well with spacing out their tournament draws. But you just did one a couple weeks ago with Heyman and Swerve. Like if you didn't do that, if it was like for me that is too close. So it's like if you would just stretch that out, and then even though people don't remember it, you did one with Claudio and Danielson to C2 in December. So it's like in my mind, you go straight to the old thing of if you don't know who should win, don't book the match, right? If you don't want anyone to get pinned, don't book the match. But you did it. It's a draw, so it does need for it to be a draw. It does need a stipulation. So I would go with Iron Man match. Because since it's a time limit draw, they didn't have enough time. Do that. But I love this feud. I
Yeah,
love every little itty bitty little thing about it. So yeah, can't
I
wait for
agree.
Evolution.
I was a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of the feud, and I'm a big fan of this match. I thought it came off really well, and it's got me very excited for whatever they do at Revolution. So, let's see. Then we had Orange Cassidy backstage with Renee, with the doctor basically telling him he needs some minimal clearance to wrestle, and OC says, "All right, let's do it." Which, I'm sorry. Then we also right after that, before we get Orange Cassidy versus Mike Bennett, we get FTR basically challenging Blackpool Combat Club. We already talked about that. So
Mhm.
we had Orange Cassidy versus Mike Bennett. Obviously, with Mike Bennett is Matt Taven at ringside, which means you're always going to have some sort of little shenanigans and input. But I thought this was a good match. Orange Cassidy gets the win, as I assumed he would, mostly just because Orange Cassidy very rarely loses, and
Right.
I, it's terrible. But I think at this point in the Undisputed Kingdom, I think they think that Mike Bennett is there to take the pins, which really fucking sucks. For me, I'd much rather it be Matt Taven taking the pins, but um, I didn't think that Mike Bennett looked terrible, but I sure didn't think they let him look as good as Matt Taven did when he
Mm-hmm.
wrestled last week. So it is what it is. At the end, they all attack Cassidy, and then we get a surprise. Jake Hager comes out to defend Orange Cassidy, which is very odd. Apparently, Jake Hager's turning face, and I don't know. Well, he's going to join Best Friends now. I have no
I
idea what's
don't
going on
know.
here. It felt very weird, kind of directionless, but I guess we'll have to see. Obviously, the jury's out. It's too soon to know exactly what this all means. Maybe it doesn't really have anything to do per se with Orange Cassidy, right? Maybe he has something doing with the kingdom as opposed and just Orange Cassidy just happens to be the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Right.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. But what do you think of all of this? The match and then the afterwards.
So the baseline of Jake Hager coming out is they're in Oklahoma, Oklahoma boy, and they do have a
Sure.
match on Rampage, which is kind of like I kind like even though Jake Hager isn't a huge well yeah huge star at AEW, I kind of feel as though if they would have reversed it, it would have made more sense because a Rampage is going to be Jake Hager versus Roddy Strong. I feel like
Right.
if you would have done that match on Dynamite and then did OC versus Matt Taven, uh Matt Bennett on Rampage, it would have made more sense of Jake Hager already had a match against these dudes. That's why he has beef now. Come out and help
Sure.
him. But
Sure.
you don't think he's a bigger than star, so it's like, well, he did a Rampage, so but that would have made more sense. But overall the match was decent, Uh I yeah, let's can we please just do this Roddy Strong versus OC match? Cause yeah, it's taking too long. It's taking too long. Roddy beat darn near everybody except Warlow. So it's like, yes, let Roddy finally beat OC so we can get this group back on track.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the Revolution match between Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy. If Roderick Strong doesn't win, I don't know. I'm going to be so irritated. Like, I mean, they've got to do something. Like, OC's had the belt two times now for too long, both times, and they need some new blood on that belt. And so it's got. I mean, now's the time. And Roderick Strong is extremely over at the moment, and so they're not going to do it. He can't be any hotter than he is right now. So
Like,
it
and
would
then
seem
what was
like
this
if you
all
don't do it,
for
you're
if he doesn't
missing the boat.
win?
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's see. Backstage, we get Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho meet up for their date. Um, a car pulls up. Ruby says, "Is that for us?" And Angelo says, "No, we got a lift." And they walk off. And then your favorite person in the world gets out of the car, and it's your boy
Woo!
Ric Flair. Woo! Who looks terrible. What? Who? I don't know. Someone on broadcasting. I can never. Sometimes I have a hard time deciphering whose voice it is. But somebody said he looks older every time he comes on camera. I assume it had to be Taz, but I don't remember now. But somebody said he looks older every time he's on camera. So what do you think? He ends up going into the room with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. What do you think you got going on there?
So as much as I was saying we don't need Ric Flair for the 4 months, if this was the intended conclusion, I'm down for it because he was like, you know what? When I first got here, it was supposed to be a full on ride with Sting, and I feel like I'm not being used, so I'm gonna explore my options, and then knock knock the Bucks. So for the very very last time, is Ric Flair gonna turn on Sting? And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the Sting's retirement match. It's like definitely don't want him versus Flair. But if we can get an involvement with Flair like this, I think this would be the perfect little reminiscence of his main event of Sting of old. That'll be just enough little sprinkles of like, okay, this is your retirement match. This is great. Now, uh, it would be nice if this is a double flip where we think he's with the Bucks or Flair, but at the match he actually helped Sting and finally redeemed himself from all the times he did turn on Sting. I would love that. But yeah, this is definitely the little
Right.
sparkle of Sting of old that we need to feel like, oh, it's actually a retirement match. Okay, this is actually pretty real and big.
Yeah, as much as I'm not a huge fan of Ric Flair at this point in his career, I do think that it does add a little bit, as you were saying. And, with Rick, the dirtiest player in the game, you never know exactly what he's doing. And so, yeah, the idea of a double cross, I could see him doing that and actually helping Sting get the win in his final match, after he sucked the Bucks in. I could also see him, being in the Bucks corner and having them, helping them put down Sting, even though it's his last match. So it's Ric Flair, and no one knows what to expect. He's the only thing that's predictable about Ric Flair is that he will be unpredictable, right?
Yeah,
So I'm excited for it. Excited for it. That's not really fair. This match doesn't really do a whole lot for me. I'm not a big Sting fan, and
interesting.
I'm ready to just kind of move on now. So I'm glad that this is his last match.
Boo!
As much as I think that Darby has benefited to a certain extent from being in the Sting vortex. I also think he's kind of been held down and held back a little bit, just by default. And so, I'm interested to see where Darby goes after Sting's gone. Um, and and if you're gonna do it, I guess this is a fine way to do it. And I do like the addition of Ric Flair, so I will definitely enjoy watching the Revolution match. But I don't know that I'm necessarily what I would call excited for it. So
I'm interested and excited. Sting was my band. So boo AEW, boo AEW, ALW. But yeah,
yeah,
I yeah, Sting's
yeah.
last match.
Let's see. So then we got Daniel Garcia in the ring, basically giving a face promo. I guess he's totally done the face turn now, and especially now that he's in this feud uh, with whatchamacallit, with Christian
Christian
and the
Cage.
patriarchy. Um, so he's definitely the face now. So he's made a full turn, and I thought I thought this was a very fun segment. Daniel Garcia, I thought, did a good job with the initial promo, and then obviously it picks up and kicks into you know third, fourth, fifth gear when Christian comes out and you know mentions that Daniel Garcia's dad is dead. And that he doesn't want to beat him at Revolution. He doesn't want to wrestle him at Revolution. He wants to be his daddy. Christian's amazing, right? I mean, what more can be said about Christian? I was laughing during this whole time. Let me just say though, they need to tell Mama Jackson or Mama Wayne to do something different. Like her facial expressions behind him were not working. Like she looked kind of robotic and like I don't know. It just for me it wasn't working. She didn't come across as believable, even though she wasn't doing anything. She just didn't look believable back there. Her facial expressions were off, but the whole thing I thought was great. And I'm here for Daniel Garcia and Christian Cage.
No, knowing that this is actually a 4 week build, like if and that's giving a whole lot of leeway because week one you have uh Daleson challenging Edge for the number one contendership. Then week two they do the match, and then this is week three. And it's like okay, for a small feud, they've done a lot in the short time frame that they had to build this revolution. So I do apply them for that. Um, we know it's coming. We know Dead Dad is coming, but it always hits the spot. It always is just like you just can't resist calling out someone's dead dad. I think that yeah, this match is gonna be great. It's gonna be probably one of the workhorse. pun intended, Revolution is going to actually be really, very well done. With Mama Wayne, I give her grace because she's a rookie, right? I don't think she's ever done this with her husband or with her kid, so I give her grace on her. She's learning the ropes as we go along on television. I think she did a better job 2 weeks ago. So it's just a matter of don't be blinded by the lights. You and just be cool with it, right?
Right.
So I give her a little bit of grace. But overall, they did what they supposed to do to make us interested in this match.
Yeah, I agree. We then had, yeah, no, and I think, quietly or as a sleeper, it could end up being maybe one of the best matches of the night, right? I mean, when it
Yeah.
boils down to it. So, I did fail to mention, or I didn't want to fail to mention that Matt Menard came out to help Daniel Garcia fight off the patriarchy. I'm not sure if that is a face turn for Matt. Angelo seems to be kind of with
Well, like,
stuff with Ruby. Seems like maybe he's making a bit of a face turn. I mean, he's definitely not being heelish in the stuff with Ruby, and where they're making us want to like him now, right? With the stuff with Ruby. So, and it appears maybe Matt Menard's making a face turn as well.
well, it feels like for me when they broke off against Jericho, they're still as a group, they're still trying to find their way. I didn't really think of them as a heel thing. I think that they're like tweeners, right? But like now it's a complete baby.
Sure.
Like think about it, they weren't really doing anything bad or heelish. They were just getting beat by baby faces. So it wasn't really that
Yeah.
huge jump across the barnyard. But I think they all can be good baby faces as well.
Yeah. No, I mean we'll have to see but I'm here for it. I'm interested to see what happens.
Mm.
Let's see. Then we had Hangman Page, Hook, and RVD backstage previewing the main event. The three of these guys don't really coexist very well together, but it is what it is. In the main event, they're going to be wrestling, or the main event is them versus Samoa Joe versus Swerve versus Brian Cage in another multi-man match to end the show. We'll talk about that obviously when we get there. What did you think about this promo or leading this backstage segment leading up to the main event, or getting us
So
excited, trying to get us excited for the main event?
I I don't think Hangman is officially a heel just yet. You can like because the pop he got during the main event, people were still cheering him. So I'm gonna call him unhinged Hangman. He's not heel. He's just unhinged. And this promo was hilarious. Like him him accusing RVD of if you just beat Swerve, we wouldn't be in this mess. And RVD was like, "Hey, Nana was there. I needed a little. That's why I had to be cool." I'm like, "Really? This is what we're doing?" And then Heyman was like, "Look, the game plan is we take out Swerve." It's like, okay, and RVD was telling, "Look, just stick with me. It's fine. It's fine." And so it was a very hilarious and entertaining segment to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, Hook benefits from being around two guys that are pretty good on the mic.
Hmm.
Hangman's really good, and RVD's, for all intents and purposes, pretty good.
Yeah,
Obviously with RVD, there's always the obligatory marijuana reference or joke, which I like. I'm here for that.
yeah,
I can't get over. I'm having a hard time looking at Hangman because of his mustache right now. Like it's so bushy that it looks like a heel mustache. Like
yeah,
it just does, and so I don't know. It kind of bothers me a little bit, but I thought this was fun, and they did a good job of making me, um, think about how they were going to coexist in the main event. Let's put it that
yeah.
way. Uh, let's see. Then we had Tony Storm taking on Sydney Winnell, a jobber. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
Probably another local talent. This is definitely a very short um, Tony Storm showcase, and Tony
Yeah.
Storm wins, locking in the Venus de Milo, which is Diana Perrazzo's signature move.
Hmm.
Basically, trying to talk some shit to Diana. What'd you think of this match? Anything?
Um, honestly, we can just talk about both because like this segment was 10 minutes with this match and the other match, and it's basically one whole story,
Yeah.
right? So, but with this, it did what it's supposed to
Yes.
do, which basically Tony is sending a message to Deanna of I'm still a cool wrestler, and it's cool. It's cool to know why it's called the Venus de Milo. Like, oh, the statue with no arms. That's why it's like a chicken wing thing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Nice little
Right.
information. But yeah, it did what it's supposed to do, which basically Tony sending the message I'm still technical, even though I'm that crap crazy.
Right. So yes. So as you were talking about, this really is a two-segment part because it's Tony winning, and then coming up the ramp, and Deanna coming down, and they look at each other. They have a little segment to look off, and then Deanna goes into the ring and has her match with Madison Rain, and beats her by using Tony Storm's leg lock submission for the win. So it
Break
was
a leg.
here's a little break a leg, tit for tat. Here okay, you did me, I'm gonna do you. Whatever you can do, I can do better, type of thing, and so on. So, um, I did find it interesting that Tony Storm got a jobber, and Deanna Peraza had to at least wrestle Madison Rain, who's I mean a veteran with a lot of experience. I mean, it seems kind of interesting to me the way they did that, but okay. Deanna still basically got the easy win. I mean, I would say Madison didn't look like a jobber, but she had that Rocky Romero air to her, right? Like I can give a few
Whoa.
minute good match, I can still have a good match, but lose, right? So like, um,
All right, here are
you
my
know,
thoughts. Number one,
yeah,
all right. So the story is, and I do love, it's very subtle. Unless you pay attention, it's very subtle. Tony is doing just jobbers, and Deanna is doing full pledge AEW roster women. So like Tony has basically Tony's doing the easy wins, and Deanna's putting in hard work. So I do love that little subtle hint of it. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I missed Madison Rains's what's her name? What's it called? When she came out, I missed her
oh,
coming
her
out and
entrance, okay,
her entrance. Thank you, her entrance. And unfortunately, and I thought she was a jobber. I thought she was a jobber. I am so sorry. And then the match did not vote well. Like I'm not like this is what
yeah,
happens when you don't get the reps in because it wasn't good. It wasn't in that last move, which was supposed to be like a DDT, and it felt like she died a little bit. Thank God she didn't, but it felt like she died. And so, like I said, the story is Deanna's doing main event people, but it was rough. It was
yeah.
rough.
Let's see. Then Tony Storm came down, and Deanna kicked her. Mariah May distracts her, and Tony puts in the break a leg. So that's basically how that segment ended up ending. Then we get Darby Allen in a segment of talking about the Young Bucks. He brings up a picture of Sting and his sons. Uh, Allen says family's all that matters. Sting appears and agrees that family's all that matters. He says he's been going through a hard time. His father passed away last week. Sting says his father was like a hero to him. He notes that it makes him think about his own mortality. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. He's ready at Revolution, and the Young Bucks have a fight on their hands. So, as a Sting fan, I'm sure you enjoyed this promo. And I'm
Come
sure this did
on,
what
you
it's
can all right.
supposed to do.
At least give the props of this was a great promo. Al, come on, man, this was a great promo for the match. Come on, and people talking about is his best promo ever. I'm gonna go into the TNA archives because I'm pretty sure somewhere up in there he did a good promo as well. I don't think like how what you call it,
Yeah, well, we're all hostages of the moment, right? It's all
that
recency
part.
bias, right? So,
But I will say
um,
it was a very intense and great promo. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something real quick, right? This
yes,
is his final match, and I heard on Russell Talk that he asked Kevin Nash to be there, right? And Kevin Nash said no because his podcast is associated with WWE. And WWE is being a little rich right now and saying that they don't want any ties to TNA. So he's not going. And
interesting.
that Come on. Don't that is so it's so
Yeah,
wrong. It's there's
it
no
is.
other way to say it. It's wrong.
It is.
Like
I
for
mean,
his final match.
I've been hoping that with the change from being um, owned, both privately by Vince McMahon and then publicly by, him being the biggest stockholder, that with the sale to Endeavor, that we would get a different attitude from WWE. And then I thought, oh, Jordan Grace is in the Rumble, and we're seeing some stuff here. It looks like maybe we're seeing a little bit of that door being pushed open a little bit. But yeah, no, I mean, this is ridiculous. This is back to their isolationist WWE stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go over here and play by myself instead of playing with the other. You've got 9 guys over there that are trying to play a basketball game and you need a 10th guy, but I'm just going to keep my ball over here and play by myself and fuck you guys. It's like it doesn't make any sense, right? So everyone else has stepped up and joined the global wrestling community, right? I mean,
Right.
every other company does work with every other company except for fucking WWE. And it's like, really? Except for when they really want to, for whatever reason, whenever they choose to here and there. It's like,
Yeah.
it's weird. If you're not gonna do it, then why even do the ones off with the Jordan Grace? I mean, why do those things if you're not really going to interact with these other companies? So we shouldn't. This shouldn't surprise us. I just was hoping for more from a different ownership team. I don't know.
Now I do I do have an idea for Kevin, and I need y'all to send this to him. Put on a sting mask and go. Put on the sting. Put for the very last time. Put on the sting mask. Put the wig on and go and tell him, "Hey, this is me under the sting mask," and go. Cause like hearing Sting's Hall of Fame speech in WWE and knowing how close they are, this is hurting Kevin as well. So I'm like, put this for one for one final time. Put the steam mask on and go, because I think you will feel better too. If you'll feel bad if you don't if he misses it. So that's my suggestion. Someone send it to him. Do it, Kevin. Do it.
Let's see. Then we've got Wardlow came to the ring and gave a terrible promo. I don't like Wardlow. He First of all, he feels out of place with the Undisputed Kingdom for one, and two, I just he needs so much more practice on the microphone. But he basically came down and said that he's been pissed off for a long time. People were chanting his name. He was the next big thing. He had a rocket attached to his back, and then he got driven into the ground and basically injured and fired and blah blah blah.
Blah
Um,
blah blah.
and
Yeah.
and blah blah blah. He talks about how he choked out Samoa Joe, and he talks some shit about MJF, and claims to be the best in the world. None of this does anything for me. I still don't like Wardlow. What about for you?
So I will say this: as of right now, he's probably the best thing of the Undisputed Kingdom group. Um, Promo wise, he has some very good points. His voice is so annoying though. I feel like him being mad and your voice going up 5 octaves is not good for you being a monster of a heel. I feel like if you was like just bring it down and just relax, I would enjoy it more. But he did have some good points. Although I need Samoa Joe to come out next week and say, "Hey, and they want to tell your dumb behind after you beat MJF to go for the TNT title instead of for the World Heavyweight Championship." So ain't nobody tried to bring you down. That was your dumb decision. That was your dumb kayfabe decision. This is your fault. But
Yeah.
definitely a better promo than he was in the past. And I will say this: it makes me want a Wardlow versus Samoa Joe match. The flip
Okay.
side of that is I want Joe to win. And it
Right.
feels like the trajectory of Wardlow in this group is that he's going to be champion when he faces whoever is champion. If you want to, we call it, deviate from that just for a little bit, by all means, go for it. But yeah, it did make me want to have at least a Samoa Joe counter promo. And in my scenario, Joe beats Wardlow. So if that's not happening, don't do it. But that
Right.
is going to happen, yeah. After Revolution, let the next program be Joe versus Wardlow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm here for that. We'll have to see. I guess we'll see how we can get there and if it plays out. But I'm not a Wardlow fan, so the less I have to see him on my TV, the better for me. But let's see. Then we had Bang Bang Scissor Gang celebrating their win on Rampage. You can see it. There's some tension between the trios, and then Jay White suggests that Billy and Colton team on this week's Collision. What do you think of this little? They're
So
planting seeds, right? As you talked about earlier. I think
yes,
they're planting seeds.
they definitely are. I do love the part where Jay basically ignores him and say it's gonna be Billy, uh, Colton, and me, not Austin. It's like, okay, cool. It's gonna be fun. All right, that's bad. So, like I said, definitely put him in the program. But this was a nice little segment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it furthers, like you said, planting the seeds of the ultimate breakup between the Acclaim and Bang Bang or Bullet Club Gold, and we'll have to see. I think what's going to end up happening is Billy's going to be stuck in the middle, and we'll have to see where he ends up going. I think he's going to be the actual. He'll be the one that ends up either staying with the Acclaimed or going over to Bullet Club Gold. I think. I don't see the Guns leaving Bullet Club Gold unless Jay White kicks
Really?
them out somehow or something. You know, really
Now,
see
see,
them leaving.
I see that. I see Jay White just saying "f all y'all" and just leaves. That's what I see happening.
That might be possible. I'm definitely curious to see how they end up playing it all out. Uh, let's
Yeah,
see. Then we have Will Ospreay will be live on Dynamite next week, so that should be exciting. And Wardlow's going to compete in something called Meat Madness at
it's
AEW
happening.
Revolution. So then we had Don Callis, who came out with his family and hyped him up, talked to him about how they asked him how it is how placing to catch against Osprey is really going to benefit the family. Blah blah blah. He
Yeah.
talks about how they can only be better, and he ends up calling Sammy Guevara a cuck. So, anything about Don Callis and the Don Callis family?
Um, very excited for Takeshita versus Osprey. Like that's gonna be just a dream of a match. Real, like
I agree.
honestly, can't wait. This is gonna be Osprey's official first day at his new job. Please pull out the red carpet. Do not let him be in sweats like the first time he appeared in AEW for Forbidden Door 1. It's funny, I took everyone from New Japan to Target and put sweats and white t-shirts and black t-shirts on them. They look all generic. Please let him come out in a bomb behind robe that he looks like $1 million. Like pull out all the stops for his first day here, please. Well, as an official AEW roster member.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can see that. I think they definitely should do something to make it memorable. I think it's
Yeah.
a big deal. So we'll see how they handle it. That brings us to our main event: Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, and Brian Cage versus Hook, Hangman Page, and Rob Van Dam. Let's see. What did you think of this match overall?
Very fun, very good. Um, Key points of it was, of course, Hangman only having eyes for, like he said, he meant what he said. It's about destroying Swerve. So him only having eyes for Swerve was perfect in this match, and him just going like a mile a minute. I'm like, sir, did you drink energy drink before this match because he was going a mile a minute. I do love that Hook and Samoa Joe are still interacting, in my mind, like just let Hook be Samoa Joe's young boy, right? Like him and Taz already have the history, and he just needs that little push. Like just do it, right? In my mind. And then of course RVD, just yes, he's slower, but he's again way better than the people his age in the ring. And a couple of new ones too. So just him still doing the Rolling Thunder like a champ, and the super in the roundhouse kick champ. Great, very great, very fun match. Very glad that Heyman is okay, because everybody, like, that whole counter out of the muscle buster, and he fell, and it's like, no, 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 no. This the main event of Revolution. Well, the big match of Revolution, because I'm sure which is going to be main event of Hangman, Samoa Joe, and Swerve needs you. We don't want Samoa Joe versus Swerve. We want a three-way. So I'm very glad to hear that he's okay and he's not hurt.
Yeah, no, I mean, what can be said about this match? I mean, five of these guys are really good. One of them is, still needs to learn his way. One of them's not quite like the others here. You can probably imagine who I'm talking about. I think I think Hook's being protected here by being with these five guys, which is fine.
But he
I
but
mean,
he doesn't suck
he's a tough.
though.
No, no, no. He definitely didn't suck. He definitely didn't suck. But the other five guys in the ring are real veterans, right? And guys that can really go, and guys that are super, super talented. I'm always happy getting to see RVD. I'm always happy getting to see Samoa Joe and RVD in the ring together. Swerve, I love Swerve. Hangman, is growing on me, and I'm a big Brian Cage fan. I think he gets kind of the short end of the stick a lot of times, so I really enjoy Brian Cage. So I was happy for this. Um, I'm glad that Samoa Joe and them got the win.
Hmm.
Um, I think it came off pretty well, and I think it did a good job, as good a job as they can do for the most part, of hyping up what I assume is going to be the main event at Revolution. It's for the title, so right, it's got to be. It's for the main AEW title. It's got to be, but maybe not. We'll have to see. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. So let me ask you this then: if you're booking Revolution, is this going to be the main event?
It's really a toss up between this and Sting's last match.
I knew you were going to say that. I
Cause
knew you
it's
were
the
going to
last
say that.
match though. Like, and it's like an actual, like, if it was Sting's last match against Darby, maybe not. But it's against the Young Bucks, and you have a little sprinkle of Ric Flair. They did enough where it's like, and it's in North Carolina, so it's not 100%. It's going to, like, it's debatable. It's debatable.
I mean, could it be one of those things where, like it was in Puerto Rico, where they missed the ball and Bad Bunny and them should have been the main event instead because
Like
of
it,
all the hoopla and all the right? I mean, yeah. I mean, I could
exactly.
definitely see how it could be considered that same way. I mean, it's going to be a spectacle. I mean, Sting's last match is going to be a spectacle, no doubt. Me
Yeah,
personally, I don't want it to be the main event, but at the same time, I can see why it could be, and I suppose depending on where you put it, you probably don't. I can't imagine wanting to follow it. I mean, the crowd's going to be so hype, and then what are you going to bring on after it that's going to keep them that hype? So yeah, I mean, it probably does need to be the main event, unfortunately. But I guess we'll
for
have to wait and
you.
see. I don't think they haven't announced the main event yet for or what the match card yet. Well, they have the matches listed, but not the actual order yet.
Yeah.
So that was the end of the end. Is Joe chokes out RVD,
Hmm.
and Samoa Joe celebrates while Swerve looks on to end the show.
Yeah.
So another episode of AEW Dynamite down,
Hmm.
and that brings us to the end of another episode of Aftermath of Dynamite. Anything you want to say about this week in AEW before we
I
get
love
up
this.
out of here?
I love this show. I'm not sure what people talk about. Oh, this was so mid in this stuff. It did what it was supposed to do. We are 2 weeks out from Revolution, so it definitely promoted Revolution way more in the past. Because in the past, it's like, oh, Revolution came up. Y'all didn't do jack squat to promote it. They're actually doing a decent job promoting this Revolution. So props to them. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how maybe some of the segments and some of the wrestling itself was mid, but even that stuff, like you said, really wasn't about the wrestling, right? Like the Tony Storm and Deanna Purrazzo stuff, like neither of the matches were good, but at the same time, it wasn't about those matches. It was more about building to their AEW Revolution match, right? So, in that regard, they definitely did a good job. I mean, those two matches were definitely lower card matches that didn't come off very well. And then you add in the Wardlow promo, which I didn't think was great. But overall, I mean, I would give this like a B minus. I mean, it wasn't bad. It's better than a C, but it's not an A. That's for sure. Um, but I mean, it definitely it did what it's supposed to do. I think it made me more excited for Revolution coming up. We have one more week before Revolution, so we'll
One more
see
week.
what's in store. As always, the card is always subject to change
Mhm.
in wrestling, so we'll see what it looks like come next at the end of next when we're here next week for Aftermath of Dynamite, the
Ooh,
last one, our Aftermath of Dynamite go home show before the Revolution pay per view. So, and we'll go ahead and take the time after we get done with Dynamite from last week to preview Revolution a little bit for you guys.
nice.
Um, unless there's, let's see, we'll go ahead and put the schedule up. Let people know when we're here.
There we go.
There's our schedule. You want to do it, or you want me to do it?
I'll do it. Um, Thank you for joining
Okay.
Workhorse Wrestling Aftermath Dynamite. As you can see, this is our schedule, but we are a wrestling channel, so card is subject to change. But we are getting our CLX back, and so most of this stuff will definitely happen. On Monday, we have Seeing Stars with the fabulous Dolores and the suave J News talking about what's going on in New Japan Wrestling and Stardom. On Tuesday is the cookout with the four OGs of Workhorse Wrestling talking about what's going on in the week of wrestling. On Wednesday, we have All for Naught with Slim and Sammy Joe and the Wise Man ALW talking about what's going on around Monday Night Raw and NXT. And tonight, as you can see on a Thursday, we have Aftermath of Dynamite with myself, Anika, and ALW talking about the week of AEW and especially what happened last night on Dynamite. And then Friday is a Friday night fight with myself, the Anarchy Queen, Anika, with Slim and Sammy Joe doing a watch along of WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage. Saturday mornings is Under the Radar with our beautiful CM and our wise man ALW talking about what's going on in the world of indie wrestling, more so with Impact, MLW, and everything else we deem that you should know, right? And then Saturday night is alright with a Saturday night watch along of Collision with Black Girl Magic with myself, Anika, CM, and Dolores, bringing you what's going on and having a good old fashioned time watching Collision. And then we're ending the week with Enter the Square Circle, where we have Sammy Joe versus ALW competing in the world of wrestling gaming.
So that is our schedule. Great job. I'm going to put up this banner one more this thing because Dolores always insists that we put it up, and it's a great thing to put up. So
Yeah,
this is for the wrestling club,
yeah.
um, and they've already obviously gotten their tickets for WrestleMania, but they could always use more money to help pay for rooms and food and all
Food.
kinds of stuff and blah blah blah. So it's a great cause to help some kids have a great time and go to WrestleMania and get to experience that. So please donate. All the information is here.
Mhm.
And it's also, I believe, maybe in the chat. I think Dolores usually posts in the chat, and maybe she didn't this time, but nonetheless, there you go. And unless you've got anything else, I guess that will get us up out of here. Peace.
Bye.